Hey guys, I'm sure it's going to take a little bit for YouTube to send any of the, I don't know, notifications to anybody that I'm going live. But you know what? It doesn't matter because from what I understand about YouTube, that even when I have a good signal, it's, I don't know, it's really hard to upload the videos. I've tried to set it low and it won't, but anyways, so this is what I'm going to try to do. Just go live with the daily offerings video and see how that works out. How you doing? His Glory is great. Good to see you. So I think, probably for a little while, most of my daily offerings videos are going to be talking about what's going on with Flat Earth because I think some really greasy stuff is going on. And I'm a little upset about the fact that specifically guys like MGTV and Flat Earth Reset, who are spending so much of their time looking into this stuff, we're getting so much flack right off the bat, which that right there ought to show you something. These guys, all right, Flat Earth Reset, for instance, he only has a couple hundred subscribers. Well, more than that. But I think the last time I checked one of his channels, it had, I don't know if it's Flat Earth Reset 1 or 3, it had less than 1,000. So, why would these personalities, and I'm going to call them personalities, like Jaron Campanella and Mike, and I can't think of his last name, or no, I'm sorry, Mike, Bob from Globebusters, and Mike Kavanaugh, and the others from their little FE Core group, why are they paying so much attention to channels like Flat Earth Reset? He doesn't have the kind of subscribers that they do, and not even close. The last time I checked, for instance, Rob Skiba had well over 100,000 subscribers. And that's just one personality that's involved with this it's not flat, I'm sorry, Field Engineers Corps, which I found it really interesting, actually, that it was Flat Earth Reset that brought up that Fe is the element, it's the element symbol on the periodic table for iron. And these people, they do. I didn't know this for a long time. I am really naive because, for a long time I had a hard time accepting the fact that these evil people in the world would not only steal from us and try to kill us and lie to us about absolutely everything, but they would mock us as well. And I just, I thought I've got to see it to believe it. And I've seen it over and over again for, a year or two. So it makes me think that there's no coincidences. When you're dealing with people like this, there's no coincidences. And MGTV posted a few days ago that interview that Mike Kavanaugh had with another guy, I don't know the other guy, on some, Dutch television show. And when I consider how much press Mark Sargent gets, and then I thought about the press at the Flat Earth International Conference, people don't get media attention on accident and not for nothing. In fact, if these people, any of them, are doing something or saying something, espousing something that's actually hurtful to the system, they're going to give them the silent treatment. I think that's illustrated, for one thing, like in the fact that Heribert Illig, for one thing, there's a lot of other names that are into alternative history, the phantom time hypothesis. He's never gotten any English translations in English publications. They've given him the silent treatment. So if these guys, Flat Earth International Conference, FE Corps, or any of their other endeavors, like Kavanaugh going on that television show, whatever country it was in, sounded like they were speaking some form of German or Dutch. Sorry, I didn't pay attention. And he was offering up anything that was damaging to the control system, because it's just as strong in Europe as it is in the United States. It's just that United States happened to be, I guess, the best vehicle they chose to spearhead the New World Order and the control system. So they're not going to give them any kind of media if they're saying or doing things that are damaging. But so far, these personalities have been given a whole lot of media. And I find that kind of hard to swallow, for one thing. And another thing is this whole thing with FE Corps, and now there's some kind of additional debate as far as, when they did that, what is it? Globebusters, FE Corps Strikes Back. They said that they were a 501c3, right? And then somebody, while they were doing the show, they went and checked with the state of Indiana, and they aren't listed. And they said it right there in the chat. They said, we can't find FE Corps listed as corporation, state of Indiana. And I went and checked too, and you can't. Not in any category. They're not there. So then the story comes out later, well, they couldn't go 501c3, and then the first excuse was the postage. It had been sent away, but Mike Kavanaugh didn't put the right postage on it. Seriously? Come on. Who has a document that important and doesn't take it to the post office in the correct sized envelope, which would be a 9x12, probably manila envelope, has it weighed by the person at the post office, and then gives them appropriate postage? So that was all kind of weird there too. And then somebody is telling Flat Earth Reset that they were at the conference, and they said something at the conference about them having to file as a 508. Now, when I first heard 508 from Flat Earth Reset, my first response was thinking that what they're talking about is they were using that as some sort of a defense mechanism, because there is like a clause 508 in 501c3, and clause 508 basically stipulates that those board members involved in the 501c3, that they can't charge reimbursements over something like 2% of what they say their normal income is. So that's the 508 clause. But then as I looked at it a little bit closer, and this isn't as easy to find a lot of reliable information on. 508, there is another classification of taxation. It is 508C1 capital A. Now, the interesting thing about that, because that was the only other 508 I could find, was that 508C1A is what a lot of activist attorneys that are trying to get churches or church-affiliated organizations, they're trying to get them out of 501c3, because 501c3 was a trap from Johnson from the start. Johnson was the scoundrel's scoundrel. Johnson knew that throughout the history that we're told, that is, of the United States, that the church ministers have had far more influence on elections and legislation and policy than all of these dirty politicians ever have had. They've known that from the beginning. It's my contention that the founding fathers knew that, and that is precisely why they gave to us the government and the kind of legislation from the start that they did, because, for one thing, people in general were far more vigilant concerning laws, and lawmakers and ministers were far more vocal because they understood at that time that a church, churches, and the church at large doesn't function just to make its parishioners, the members of the body of Christ, just feel better about themselves until they die and go to some pie in the sky heaven where they sit on a cloud and play a harp for eternity. They understood that the church was far more important than that, and it had a vital role and function in society. And this is precisely why the ministers were so vocal and so active concerning our leaders, because they knew if they weren't vocal and active about our leadership, that society would quickly go down the slippery slope and end up in the sewer, and things would be horrific. This is why they were so vigilant. Johnson knew this, and I'm sure leaders for years before Johnson had wondered, what can we do to silence the churches? And I think that they made a lot of progress in the century or two leading up to that. But Johnson's passing the 501c3 Act really covered a lot of ground, because it first off took advantage of the greed that a lot of professional ministers had. Because one thing you got to remember is that one of the first things that started happening in the church at large, even from the 2nd century or so, which has continued in one way or another, personified by the papacy, and then of course perpetuated by the reformers on, and that's a whole other story in and of itself, the Reformation, is this idea that there should be a central figure or character at the top, and that the church should be set up like a pyramid. So he took advantage of that. And it was, if you just want to look at it in an objective way, without making moral judgments, it was a brilliant move on his behalf. So a lot of Christian attorneys, if it's possible for that to even exist, are trying to educate churches and members of churches on what the evils of 501c3 incorporation are. So one of the things that they're trying to educate them on is what is called 508c1 capital A. And you can register as a 508c1 capital A. And it applies to organizations, corporations that shouldn't really be taxed anyways. So I guess from what I know about it, it's a really good way to get out of taxes that particular entity should have never had to pay in the first place. Okay? The thing about it is, though, if that's the 508 that FE Corps is talking about, you have to already be a registered church on the books to qualify for 508c1a. So I'm not saying I know everything about all of the different tax codes and clauses and whatnot, but when I started searching for what there was, and sorry, my phone's telling me I got a bad connection. Okay. Hopefully this is still coming through, because it just interrupted me with a message telling me my connection wasn't very good. Well, yeah, I don't know, because this is the only place I can really broadcast right now, so I'm not really seeing my other icons. Anyways, I'm just going to keep going, assuming that I'm still able to stream. I hope I'm not coming through too shaky. As a matter of fact, to improve my connection, if you guys will humor me for a second, because the 501c3, that was just kind of part of it. I'm going to move to another. We're at my wife's, we're at the folks' house and everything for the Thanksgiving. So I'm going to try to move. I was sitting in the car because the car is warm. I can keep the car warm. But I'll go somewhere where I can get a better connection. It's just that I don't really have any privacy here right now because it's kind of a full house. So I tried to go somewhere that was a little more private so I could do this. But let's try this. Maybe if I come up here and get a little bit, yep, all right, that cleared it up a little bit for now. So anyways, that's the only stuff I can find. And I did so much looking on 501c3 a long time ago that I really would think that I would have come across 508 if it exists in some other form than the two that I just mentioned. And I haven't. So that seems to be the deal. So they're either trying to say that they're going to have to file as per Clause 508, limiting their reimbursements, or they're saying they're going to file 508c1 capital A, which you have to be a church or some sort of spiritual institution to begin with. And furthermore, can I bring this up because, Flat Earth Reset and MGTV, those guys spend so much time going over these videos so that they can pick them apart, filter them down, and give back to us the important stuff. And I'm sure with that large a bulk of material that they've got to go through, and I'm sure they have their own lives, their own family and people that are depending on them and relationships that they have, that I think more people need to help them out to try to kind of call out what's really going on here. Now, there's one thing that I hadn't brought up yet, and I brought this up on the small series that I had done on 501c3 church organizations. And that is the fact that when George W. Bush was in office, he passed it was you know what they're called, man. Every president passes a million of them. It's ridiculous. an executive order. I'm sorry, I can't think of the code. It was an executive order with one of those 6 numeral codes. And what it stipulated, and this was right after 9/11 when they really pushed through a bunch of really seedy legislation. It stipulated that everything that fell under the category of 501c3, and that meant everything. That wasn't just evangelical churches or Protestant churches or Catholic churches. It was everything considered a spiritual organization. So we're talking about Scientology. We're talking about Janist, Sikh, Church of Satan, Rastafarian. If you can qualify your organization as a spiritual organization and thus qualify for 501c3 and be registered as 501c3, well, George W. Bush says that you are now part of an organized network that is existing in part to serve a function. In that, let's say a national emergency state is declared or something bad like that happens. Well, they're considering all of you who are a 501c3, no matter what brand of religion you are. They consider you to have the responsibility of rounding up your peoples. So in the case of churches, your congregants or parishioners, people who trust you. And it's probably that way in every different brand of spiritual organization. You're going to have the sheep who trust this soul leader or leaders. Well, according to that executive order, he expects all of you guys to fall in line and help out, round up your people, bring them to your building, hold them there until the soldiers can get there with their guns and mow them all down or burn them all out. Maybe they won't do that. Maybe. But that's what spiritual organizations are expected to do, amongst other things. And if you're a 501c3, well, sorry, folks. I lost the connection. I'm trying to stay as close to it as I can, so we'll see how it goes, like I said. So there is a lot of potential seedy stuff in all of this. As soon as those guys on Globe Busters said that they had registered 501c3, that was it. It was over. It was absolutely over. Because, I know all those slippery, greasy, seedy things they can do. Obviously, Flat Earth Reset knows a lot more about .orgs than I do. And obviously, he knows a lot more about LLCs than I do. I don't see LLC as a great thing anyways. I had a guy talk me into establishing my business back in 2014 as an LLC. And he told me, well, it's just you do that because I'm a sole proprietorship, so I don't have any partners. And he said, well, you do that so that if something should happen and you say you can get a, oh, thank you. That's good to know. Anyways, he says it protects. So if someone to sue you or something like that, he said then all they could do is sue the business, and they couldn't sue the person themselves. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that sounds good. And wouldn't you know it, it was an attorney also advising me that was the best way to go. And then after I got it, and I've had it for a while, and I've had to learn things about it, just what it is, its form, its function, and all that. All right, I'm going to stay back close to where I know the connection is. Thanks for letting me know about that. Anyways, the more I think about it, the more I think I might want to go ahead and dissolve that. I'm right on the verge of like doing advertising for my business, and the name wouldn't change, but that might. Geez, very bad connection. Well, then I'm gonna try something. Okay, guys. If you'd humor me for just a few minutes, I'm gonna go try and see if I can establish a better connection. I'm gonna go back in the house now because the router, because I'm sure my phone is catching the router. 508A. What ONAC? See, I'm not familiar with an ONAC. That's good to know. Yeah, I'm back because I'm going to be trying to go like really close to the Wi-Fi router and see if that helps me out at all. Hey, I'm recording live on YouTube, so I'll try to not. No, but are you about ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
What? A couple minutes.
All
All right. Sorry, guys. So my wife is. So anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap it real quick, but I'm going to start up another one either later today or tomorrow to finish up what I was talking about, because there's a whole lot to this. And thank you for all that info, Alan. If you could let me know more about that, the 508 category that you're talking about, I'd really appreciate it. I want to finish up on that LLC, but like I said, guys, if nothing else, if you haven't gone to Flat Earth Reset or MGTV, go there. Flat Earth Reset has Flat Earth Reset 1, Flat Earth Reset 3. MGTV has MGTV, I think MGTV 2 and MGTV History. The stuff that they're working on, that they're bringing out, it's important. And here's why it's important. Because this sort of pattern that we're seeing in what's going on with these guys, the guys that are potentially involved with Metatron, FE Core, and the Flat Earth International Conference, and all the characters that were involved in all of that, how it went down, these are patterns that we've seen over and again throughout history when they're trying to steer some kind of what maybe started out organically, or they're pulling a psyop to pull our attention away from something more important. So please go and visit their channels. And until next time, thanks you guys for joining in. And hopefully this post's okay. And give me a like if you appreciated it. And again, Alan, I appreciate all your information and everybody who showed up and all your comments and everything you have to offer. I really do appreciate it. So for now, guys, take care, okay?